The Last Unicorn, a study in mythic melancholy. Introduction. The Last Unicorn stands as one of literature and animation's most haunting and profound protagonists, a creature of timeless beauty and immortal sorrow whose journey from innocence to experience captures the very essence of what it means to lose one's mythic nature in an increasingly mundane world. Born from Peter S. Beagle's 1968 novel and immortalized in Rankin/Bass Productions' 1982 animated adaptation, The Last Unicorn embodies themes of mortality, identity, and the price of transformation with a depth rarely seen in fantasy literature. Unlike many fantasy protagonists who seek power or glory, The Last Unicorn's quest is driven by a more existential concern, the terrible possibility that she might truly be the last of her kind. Her journey becomes not just a physical adventure, but a metaphysical exploration of what it means to be unique, immortal, and ultimately alone in a world that has forgotten magic, physical appearance, and mythic presence. The Last Unicorn's appearance defies the typical fantasy convention of making mythical creatures imposing or terrifying. Instead, she embodies an ethereal beauty that seems almost too delicate for the harsh world she inhabits. Her coat is described as being white as milk, white as pearl, with a luminous quality that seems to emit its own soft light. Her mane flows like sea foam, never quite still, always moving as if touched by otherworldly winds. Her horn, the defining feature that marks her as a unicorn, is spiraled and appears to be made of pearl or ivory, but with an inner light that suggests something far more precious than any earthly material. It's not just a physical appendage, but a symbol of her purity and power, the very essence of what makes her a unicorn rather than merely a magical horse. What makes The Last Unicorn's appearance particularly poignant is how it reflects her emotional state throughout her journey. In her natural form, she possesses an otherworldly serenity and grace that marks her as belonging to a different realm entirely. However, as her quest progresses and she encounters the harsh realities of mortal existence, subtle changes occur. Her light dims slightly, her movements become less fluid, as if the weight of the world is gradually pulling her down from her ethereal heights. The animated adaptation captures this beautifully, with character design that emphasizes her alien beauty while making her relatable enough for audiences to form an emotional connection. Her large, expressive eyes convey a depth of emotion that speaks to her ancient wisdom, while also revealing her growing vulnerability as she experiences mortality. Personality, the weight of immortal loneliness. The Last Unicorn's personality is perhaps her most complex aspect, layered with contradictions that reflect her unique position between the mortal and immortal worlds. At the story's beginning, she embodies the classical unicorn archetype, aloof, pure, and somewhat removed from earthly concerns. She possesses the serene confidence of a creature who has never known fear, doubt, or loss. However, this initial characterization is deceptive in its simplicity. Beneath her ethereal composure lies a profound loneliness that she initially doesn't fully comprehend. Having lived for centuries, possibly millennia, in her forest, she has existed in a state of beautiful isolation, unaware of what she was missing until the terrible possibility of being truly alone in the world forces her to confront her solitude. Innocence and experience. One of the most compelling aspects of The Last Unicorn's character development is her journey from innocence to experience, not in the typical coming-of-age sense, but in the more profound sense of an immortal being discovering mortality. Her initial innocence isn't childlike, but rather the innocence of a creature who has never needed to question her place in the world or consider her own mortality. As her quest progresses, she begins to experience emotions and sensations that are foreign to her immortal nature: fear, uncertainty, desire, and most significantly, the awareness of time's passage. This transformation is both beautiful and tragic, as each new experience brings her closer to humanity, while simultaneously distancing her from her true nature. The burden of uniqueness. Perhaps no character in fantasy literature better embodies the profound loneliness of being truly unique than the Last Unicorn. Her growing awareness that she may indeed be the last of her kind creates an existential crisis that goes beyond simple sadness. She faces the possibility that when she dies, an entire category of being will vanish from the world forever. This burden manifests in various ways throughout her journey. She becomes increasingly desperate in her search, willing to take risks, and make sacrifices that would have been unthinkable for her earlier, more serene self. The weight of potential extinction drives her forward even as it threatens to crush her spirit. Compassion through suffering. Ironically, it's through her own suffering that the last unicorn develops a deeper capacity for compassion. Her initial detachment from mortal concerns gradually gives way to genuine empathy as she experiences vulnerability herself. This transformation is most evident in her relationships with other characters, particularly Schmendrick the magician and Molly Grew, whom she initially views with polite indifference but comes to care for deeply. The transformation, from unicorn to Lady Amalthea. The most pivotal moment in the last unicorn's journey occurs when Schmendrick transforms her into a human woman, Lady Amalthea, to protect her from the Red Bull. This transformation represents far more than a simple disguise. It's a fundamental alteration of her very essence that threatens to erase her true nature entirely. The horror of mortality. As Lady Amalthea, the last unicorn experiences mortality in its most intense form. She feels the relentless passage of time, the weight of a physical body, and most terrifyingly, the gradual fading of her memories of being a unicorn. The transformation is portrayed not as an adventure, but as a kind of living death. She is slowly forgetting what she truly is. This aspect of the story functions as a powerful metaphor for how contact with the mundane world can strip away our sense of magic and wonder. Lady Amalthea represents what happens when mythic beings are forced to conform to mortal limitations, gradually losing their essential nature in the process. Love as corruption and salvation. During her time as Lady Amalthea, the last unicorn experiences romantic love for Prince Lyre. This love is both the most human emotion she experiences and the greatest threat to her essential nature. Unicorns, in the mythology Beagle creates, are incapable of love in the human sense. They can feel affection and compassion, but not the passionate, possessive love that defines much of human experience. Her growing love for Lyre represents the ultimate test of her commitment to her quest and her true nature. The more she loves him, the more she becomes Lady Amalthea, and the less she remains the last unicorn. It's a beautifully cruel irony that her most human experience, love, becomes the thing that most threatens her ability to save her fellow unicorns. The choice between mortality and divinity. The climax of the last unicorn's character arc comes when she must choose between remaining human and keeping her love for Lyre, or returning to her true nature to complete her quest. This choice is made more agonizing by the fact that she has genuinely come to love both Lyre and her human companions. To save her people, she must sacrifice not just her happiness, but the very capacity for the kind of love she has discovered. This choice elevates the story from a simple hero's journey to a profound meditation on sacrifice and identity. The last unicorn must literally choose who she wants to be, knowing that either choice involves a kind of death, either the death of Lady Amalthea or the death of the unicorns. Relationships and character development. Schmendrick the magician. The unlikely guide. The relationship between the last unicorn and Schmendrick forms the emotional core of the story. Initially, she views him with polite skepticism. He is, after all, a self-proclaimed magician whose spells rarely work as intended. However, their relationship evolves into something deeper as the quest progresses. Schmendrick represents the opposite of the last unicorn in many ways. Where she is eternal and magical by nature, he is mortal and must struggle for his magic. Yet this difference creates a complementary dynamic. His mortality gives him an understanding of urgency and loss that helps drive the quest forward, while his genuine respect for her nature helps her maintain her sense of self even as she faces transformation. Their relationship is particularly poignant because Schmendrick understands better than anyone the cost of the last unicorn's transformation into Lady Amalthea. having witnessed her true nature. He alone fully comprehends what she risks losing, making his determination to help her all the more meaningful. Molly Grew, the voice of hard-won wisdom. Molly Grew's relationship with the last unicorn provides some of the story's most emotionally resonant moments. Molly's famous outburst upon first seeing the unicorn, "Where were you when I was new? How dare you come to me now, when I am this?" encapsulates one of the story's central themes about time, loss, and the cruelty of magic appearing only when innocence has been lost. Yet Molly becomes one of the last unicorn's most devoted companions, perhaps because she understands better than anyone the weight of being alone and forgotten. Their relationship develops from Molly's initial bitterness to genuine affection and mutual respect, with Molly serving as both protector and emotional anchor for the increasingly fragile Lady Amalthea. Prince Lear, love as transformation. Prince Lear represents both the greatest threat to and the greatest gift for the last unicorn's development as a character. Through her love for him, she experiences the full range of human emotion and desire. Yet this same love threatens to erase her true nature entirely, creating the story's central dramatic tension. Lear's love for Lady Amalthea is profound and genuine, which makes the ultimate resolution both beautiful and tragic. He falls in love with what the last unicorn becomes when touched by mortality, yet he cannot possess this love without destroying what she truly is. Their relationship serves as a meditation on the nature of love itself, whether true love requires possession or can exist in letting go. King Haggard, the mirror of desolation. King Haggard serves as both antagonist and dark mirror to the last unicorn. Like her, he is isolated and driven by an obsession that defines his existence. However, where her isolation stems from her mythic nature and her quest is driven by love for her people, his isolation is self-imposed and his obsession is purely selfish. Haggard's relationship to the unicorns he has captured reveals the destructive nature of possessive love. He claims to love unicorns, yet his love is entirely about ownership and control. He represents what the last unicorn could become if she allowed her isolation and obsession to corrupt her essential nature. Themes and symbolism. The death of magic in the modern world. The last unicorn functions as a powerful allegory for the loss of wonder and magic in an increasingly mundane world. The fact that she may be the last of her kind reflects the broader theme of how mythic beings and magical thinking are gradually disappearing from a world that no longer has room for them. This theme is reinforced throughout the story by the reactions of various characters to the unicorn's presence. Many cannot see her for what she truly is, perceiving only an ordinary horse or refusing to believe in unicorns at all. This blindness to magic serves as a metaphor for how modern consciousness has lost the ability to perceive the sacred and miraculous in everyday existence. Identity and transformation. The story explores the fluid nature of identity and the ways in which we can lose ourselves in the process of growth and change. The last unicorn's transformation into Lady Amalthea represents not just a physical change, but a fundamental alteration of consciousness and being. This theme is particularly relevant to questions of authenticity and conformity. Lady Amalthea represents what happens when we adapt so completely to societal expectations that we begin to forget our true nature. The story suggests that while transformation and growth are necessary, they must not come at the cost of losing our essential selves. Love and sacrifice. The various forms of love depicted in the story, romantic love, compassionate love, obsessive love, and self-sacrificing love, create a complex meditation on the nature of affection and attachment. The last unicorn's journey forces her to experience multiple forms of love, while ultimately having to choose which loves are worth preserving and which must be sacrificed for the greater good. Time and mortality. As an immortal being forced to confront mortality, the last unicorn embodies the story's exploration of time's passage and the weight of finite existence. Her growing awareness of time's constraints creates urgency, while her immortal perspective provides wisdom about what truly matters in the face of eternity. Cultural impact and legacy. The Last Unicorn has maintained its cultural relevance for over 5 decades, resonating with readers and viewers across generations. Its themes of loss, identity, and the preservation of wonder speak to universal human experiences, while its fantasy elements provide the distance necessary for profound reflection. Literary influence. Peter S. Beagle's novel has influenced countless fantasy works, particularly in its approach to melancholy beauty and its willingness to explore the darker implications of mythic existence. The story's treatment of immortal beings facing extinction has become a recurring theme in fantasy literature. Animated adaptation. The 1982 Rankin/Bass animated film, while taking some liberties with the source material, captured much of the novel's emotional depth and thematic complexity. Its distinctive art style and haunting musical score by America, particularly the Last Unicorn theme song, have ensured its place as a cult classic of animation. Philosophical resonance. The story's exploration of authenticity, sacrifice, and the nature of love has made it a favorite among philosophers and literary scholars. Its treatment of these themes through the lens of fantasy allows for discussions of profound concepts in accessible yet sophisticated ways. Contemporary relevance. In an age of increasing environmental destruction and species extinction, the Last Unicorn story has gained new relevance as a meditation on what it means to be the last of one's kind. Her quest to save her people resonates with contemporary concerns about conservation and the responsibility of survivors to preserve what remains of dying traditions or species. The story's themes of authenticity versus conformity speak particularly strongly to modern audiences struggling with questions of identity in an increasingly connected yet impersonal world. Lady Amalthea's gradual loss of her true nature, while gaining human experiences, serves as a powerful metaphor for the ways in which modern life can strip away our sense of wonder and authentic self-knowledge. Conclusion. The Unicorn's Eternal Sorrow. The Last Unicorn stands as one of fantasy literature's most complex and emotionally resonant protagonists precisely because her story refuses easy resolution. Even after successfully completing her quest and freeing her fellow unicorns, she remains changed by her experiences. She has gained knowledge of love and loss that makes her different from other unicorns, creating a new kind of isolation even as she ends her solitude. This bittersweet resolution captures something profound about the nature of growth and experience. The Last Unicorn cannot return to her original innocence. Her journey has fundamentally altered her, giving her wisdom, but also a kind of sadness that her fellow unicorns cannot share. She has become something new, not quite the eternal, unchanging creature she once was, but not human either. In the end, The Last Unicorn represents the tragic beauty of transformation and the price of wisdom. Her story suggests that true heroism sometimes requires not just saving others, but accepting the permanent changes that such salvation demands. She embodies the profound truth that some quests change us so fundamentally that victory and loss become indistinguishable, leaving us forever altered by the very act of fighting for what we hold most dear. Her enduring appeal lies in this complexity. She is simultaneously a creature of pure fantasy and a deeply relatable figure struggling with questions of identity, purpose, and the cost of love. In a world that often demands we choose between remaining true to ourselves and adapting to circumstances beyond our control, The Last Unicorn's journey offers both comfort and challenge, reminding us that sometimes the greatest courage lies not in refusing to change, but in choosing what aspects of ourselves are worth preserving through any transformation.